All right, so this is just a brief video to explain how the Hamlet research essay assignment works, where we're going to take the gigantic work Hamlet we read and combine it with the kind of scholarship that we might be required to do in college. So the basic thrust of it is that you're going to write a 2.5-page, double-spaced, typed essay on a character in Hamlet. It's kind of just a character essay. It's really not that difficult. Your essay is going to describe how that character is portrayed, their qualities, and how that portrayal relates to a tragic theme of the play as a whole. So we always want to start with something concrete. What is this character like? And then how does this character function according to the big ideas of the piece? But in this paper, since it's not just your opinion of a paper, you're going to express your opinion, but you're going to place your opinion within the context of 3 other people, 3 critics, and what they've said about that character's tragic nature. Basically, I always think it's helpful to have a question to ask and then to answer that in your paper. It sort of gives you a reason to write the paper. So, who is blank, and how does blank relate to the tragic themes of William Shakespeare's Hamlet? I hope over the course of studying Hamlet you've seen that the play can be tragic just because of the young man Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, but there are so many tragic characters in the play that they all kind of have a tragic arc, if you will. So you can write on any of the following characters. I think these are the best to write on, and you just pick your favorite. There's obviously Hamlet, but it's sort of fun to sort of go off of the center of the play and talk about Claudius as a tragic character, Gertrude, Polonius, Laertes, Ophelia, Horatio, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Just like everybody else, we're not going to distinguish between those two, but they can be interesting to write about, and then even Fortinbras. So basically, once you picked your character, you're going to come up with 2 or 3 characteristics that you know are like major aspects of their personality. And then we're going to go to the primary text first. We're going to pick 6 quotations from the play. That's basically 2 quotations for each of the 3 characteristics you come up with. And those quotations are going to provide evidence for your character's quality. You may also, after you've identified 3 qualities and picked 6 quotations, be thinking about what theme of the play that we discussed in class does my character relate to, and how does that make them tragic? So after you've done that, you've sort of done your work, thinking about what you think about the play and spending time with the primary source. You're going to go to the secondary sources, and you'll need to find 3 quotations from 3 different sources we want to integrate both the primary and the secondary sources into our argument, and find 3 quotations that either support or contrast your point. It's kind of good when you find a critic who says something different about a character, because then you can say, unlike so-and-so, Frank Kermode, who said this about Ophelia, I see Ophelia as this way. Because we've seen that Shakespeare characters are wide, and they kind of can be interpreted lots of different ways depending on acting and directing choices. So what I've done is I've provided you with 7 different Hamlet secondary sources. They're different in lengths, some are shorter than others, and they have different emphasis. Some are trying to prove this, some are trying to prove that. We're kind of just looking through and trying to find the places where they talk about the character that we're interested to. And because we're getting ready for college, we're going to talk like scholars, and we're going to refer to these scholars by their names. I've provided you with a works cited page that shows you how they should be cited properly. But generally, hopefully you'll divide these 7 up among different friends in your class, and if they see a quote about Ophelia and they know you're writing about Ophelia, they might point it out, and you might be able to integrate that into your paper. But you never really know. Research is kind of messy. You kind of just have to dive in and start figuring out what can be useful for your paper. So I provided you with a sample outline. It shows you how your intro should go, what body paragraph should be like, and you can follow that, but it's up to you to figure out where you're going to put your quotations in there. I've written a sample essay on Fortinbras that I have the quotations color-coded. I believe all the Hamlet quotations, the direct primary source, are in blue, and the other 3 sources might be in yellow, but I can't quite remember. But you can look at that and see where I integrated in those quotations, and it has a sample works cited page where I only cited the works that I cited, starting with Hamlet and then the 3 other critical sources. So you should have a total of 4 sources for your paper at the end. These are some examples of citing Hamlet properly. Remember that it was kind of traditional to use Roman numerals in the past, but now we simply say Act 3, Scene 4, line 158. And you can see how I integrated the primary source into my quotation just very smoothly. Filled with grief and shame at Hamlet's revelations, Gertrude tells Hamlet that he hath cleft her heart in twain, and I quoted that directly. Notice I used a line break here because if you're quoting Hamlet, you're quoting some of the poetry, and some of Hamlet's in prose, like when he talks to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and some's in poetry. You use a line break to show, with space on either side, that the poetry stops there. When Hamlet wonders whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, he is really asking if being passive or waiting for change is the best way to make a decision. And then I open my quotation on my parentheses with Act 3, Scene 1, lines 63 through 34, close parentheses, period. And that's the way you cite your primary sources. It can be a little trickier to cite those secondary sources, but I have examples of those online as well. Good luck.